In America right now, we're facing a severe crisis in our automobile industry. You hear people on television telling you that this is a failed industry, that we need to let it declare bankruptcy, that these are just companies that have an unworkable business model. I understand some of these people talking to you have vested interest in what they're telling you. So you'll turn on your TV and you'll see Senator Richard Shelby from Alabama constantly talking about how these companies are horrible and let them declare bankruptcy and let the Japanese take them over or the Germans take them over. I understand that Richard Shelby has probably more foreign manufacturers in his state than any other. Honda has manufacturing there, Toyota, BMW, Hyundai. He has a vested interest in this. These are people who don't believe in unions. So this is a way for them to bring labor down into their states. They're non-union jobs. They pay less, and they tell you that this is the model that we should have. Now understand, when they tell you this is the model we should have, using Toyota and Honda as their examples, that these are great companies. These are companies that were subsidized by their governments for years. Subsidized so that their industry could grow. They have tariffs. They have very protectionist laws in their country to make sure that their cars are able to sell at a profit. We don't have that here. You constantly have these same people telling you that we need to have free market, we need to have open trade. Those are things that kill jobs. When you have people more concerned about making things easy for capitalists and having low-paid employees for them as opposed to making sure that the country has a solid work base, then you need to start to question where people's motivation lies. Not saying that they're unpatriotic or un-American, but some of these people believe so much in capitalism that they lose sight of the country itself. So getting into this industry a little bit more, you'll hear people say that we need to fire all these managers. Well, most folks don't understand the automobile industry. In the automobile industry, you are not making cars brand new every year. The cars that are on the road today were planned 5, 6, 8 years before they hit the road. So the management decisions that are affecting these companies now were not the decisions of the guys who are the CEOs of these companies now. So if you hear a politician or an economist telling you we need to fire these guys, they're just blowing hot air trying to make it seem like they're doing something. Because again, these aren't the guys that made the decisions that put these companies in these positions. Each one of those companies are in different spots. So when you hear politicians say, how could they possibly come to Capitol Hill with no plan and expect us to give them money? Because all three of those companies are in different positions and all three don't need exactly the same thing to work right now. The whole automobile industry is hurting. The media will make you believe that it's only the American car companies. Now financially they are in a bad position, but Toyota, which they hold up as the pinnacle of an automobile company, their sales are off by 35% in the country. They're off 35% because our economy is down. Now they have great products. Everyone says they have great engineering, all these good things. So why are their sales down? It is because our economy is down. They will tell you that American car companies don't innovate. Toyota does not have a full two-mode hybrid full-size SUV that can actually tow a real boat. General Motors does. The Tahoe, the Yukon, these things can do that, but they get no credit for that. Magnetic radiological shock absorbers that use oil and iron particles to almost instantaneously change the damping, those were developed by Delphi while they were under the ownership of General Motors. Ferrari uses those, Audi uses those, but these companies don't innovate. Don't listen to some of these people tell you about an industry that they have no clue about how it works. Even these economists don't know. Bankruptcy is the thing the economists push the most. What bankruptcy allows you to do is tear up your union contracts, redraw those contracts, and not pay suppliers. Now, other reorganizations, changing your product, changing management, you can do all of that stuff without bankruptcy. The other part of that, if you're a car company and you declare bankruptcy, no one is going to buy your product. This is not like you're going to a clothing store that's going bankrupt and buying everything and you have to deal with them again. When you buy a car, it's a big ticket purchase. It's something you're going to have for years. And within buying that car, there's servicing that goes along with that. There's parts that goes along with that. If you buy a car from a company that's going bankrupt, now you're not so sure. So you probably won't buy the car. Don't listen to these people when they tell you they will. Every car company that has gone bankrupt, if you look historically at it, their sales plummet because no one has confidence. When Oldsmobile went under, General Motors was still a very viable company. It wasn't going anywhere. People wouldn't buy Oldsmobile cars even though they were told they could take them to any of the other General Motors brands and have them serviced and get parts. People lose faith because most people do not know the distinctions between Chapter 11 and Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The average American hears bankruptcy and that means going out of business. It doesn't mean we're restructuring. It means we're out of business. So when you start hearing people tell you to take these big drastic measures, you got to really start looking at that. The other thing, General Motors on that, I use General Motors because they are probably in the best position product-wise to start going forward with the changes in their products. They pay anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 more per vehicle to build than Toyota does. That $1,500 to $2,000 is medical benefits and benefits paid to retirees. But you don't hear any of these politicians step into what the real problem is. They say, well, the unions got greedy when times were good, or bad management. But again, the problem is medical insurance, our medical industry. If we had universal health care, this would not be a problem. The other thing these critics of the domestic auto industry don't tell you, when they contrast our car companies to those in Japan or Europe, they don't tell you that those companies in Japan and Korea, in Hyundai's case, and Germany, they have universal health care. These companies don't have to worry about paying health benefits to employees because the government pays for this stuff. You have to use critical thought when you look at this and analyze everything. Look at varied sources. Look at a kpfk.org, a Democracy Now! Watch an MSNBC, watch a CNN, and if you have to, watch a Fox News. But understand you need to watch and listen and read different sources to find out the whole story. Because what we're getting in our corporate media, and sadly, some cases in our supposed liberal media, is spin. It's anti-union spin. Understand the UAW is still the strongest union in the country. If the UAW goes under, that's a big step to getting rid of political power for Democrats. Republicans know this. That's why they've been after unions for 30 years. Do a little reading of your history. Just don't listen to a talking head. Shit, just don't listen to me. Research this stuff for yourself. Really get out there. You have this internet. There's all kinds of sources. Read Smedley Butler's War is a Racket. Understand how these things are connected in many ways. I'm getting a little bit far off because I want to get back into these unions. The union movement is what built the country that we have now. That's what made this middle class that we have, because people were guaranteed good, solid jobs that they could have, retire on, raise a family. Unions gave you that. They gave you a 5-day work week, an 8-hour work day. But people have taken that for granted over the years because we've been taught, since Reagan came in through the supposed liberal media, that unions are bad. Think about this for a moment. You have people who have no problem giving AIG, Bear Stearns, all of these companies hundreds of billions of dollars that they don't have to account for. Henry Paulson used to be the CEO of Bear Stearns. But now he's responsible for bailing out and fixing everything. No strings attached money. Don't tell us where any of the money went, and we'll give it to you. But the automakers, we won't give you $25 billion because you don't have a plan. No, it's because this is blue-collar work, and if they kill it here, they know that they can kill blue-collar work throughout the rest of this country. Understand, no society has ever lasted throughout history without a strong manufacturing base. People buy products that you want. Now, I shouldn't say just manufacturing. Farming, manufacturing, but you cannot deal with just moving money around. That has never been a sustainable economy, and that's where people are moving us to money services. It does not work. Look at our economy. You're a blue-collar worker and you voted Republican all these years because you've been scared of illegal immigration, you've been scared of affirmative action, but ask yourself, what has that done for your job? How many of your friends' jobs have been outsourced? Has your job been outsourced? How many of you have trained the person in India who's going to take your job? So ask yourself again, when you have these fat cats, politicians, many of them rich, some Democrat, mostly Republican, and many of these newscasters who are multi-millionaires, some of them, you need to think maybe they have an agenda, and that agenda does not square with the agenda of the person who rings that bell in the morning, clock in, clock out. That's not their life. They don't understand that. So start thinking about voting your own self-interest. Find out about what's going on with these unions. Find out about our auto industry, and just demand that we don't let our country fall apart. Thanks.
Yes, the rhythm's a rebel. Without a pause, I'm lowering my